you're not streaming now because you pulled this. I'm not live.
Okay.
You're not
Okay.
live. I can't see anything.
This is VRN, your trusted leader in e-motorsports.
Hey, welcome race fans to this edition of the Texas Motor Speedway Vigilante Report. I'm your host, Alan Vaught, along with Ricky Wittenberg in the booth with me tonight. Tonight's edition, we will recap last week's exciting Round 6 race at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll also get interviews with your podium finishers, the number 83 of Jason Gaines, the number 38 of Chris Gones, and the number 13 of Andy Player. Additionally, we will go over some real-world NASCAR driving topics, which includes a recent interview with racing legend Mark Martin on the Kenny Wallace Show, which also dovetails into a discussion about the current Cup playoff format. And finally, we're going to preview tomorrow's race at the iRacing Super Speedway and go over your questions in the YouTube chat. So make sure that if you're able, that you start posting them there for Ricky to be able to sort through them and make sure we get them on air tonight. So that's the programming note for tonight. Ricky, we do have an ambitious agenda to get to, starting with last week's Texas Motor Speedway race. This was a very clean race with only 4 cautions laps for 12 laps, actually, out of 133. It was a great race overall, and the track with a few moments of trading paint, which we'll see when we go over the race recap here in just a minute. Do you have any initial thoughts before we do that?
Yeah, Texas is usually pretty treacherous, so I was actually kind of surprised that we only had 4 cautions with as much calamity that seems to happen out of turn 2, but there was a lot of good saves in the race, and we avoided a few cautions from guys making these pretty good saves.
Yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and we're going to go over the race from the start all the way to the finish, and we'll make some comments along the way as the action unfolds, Ricky. So yeah, this happened last Friday on June 20th. As we mentioned before, Texas Motor Speedway, always a challenging track. Got a pretty clean start. We went pretty good distance there. It looked like the 99 and the 6 were going to be the 2 trucks to beat. They were later joined by the 21 of Derek Welch. And yeah, we thought that's how it was going to work out. But we had some surprises along the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I really thought that Trevor Robertson and Albert Anderson probably would be the 2 trucks to beat. And but you never can count any of these guys out. And as you'll see in the highlights, there was some issues for all of the front runners that opened the door for some other guys to get in there.
Yeah, we're fast forwarding now to lap 20. We had this incredible save by Paul Durkee going into 1 and 2 as he was assisted by Dave the Mouth Mayberry and pulling off what was a circus trick of being able to save his truck there.
Yeah, I accused Mayberry of making contact at Talladega a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't. Then I accused him at Texas of making contact, and this time he did.
So we'll watch it one more time before we move on to the next incident. But it was an incredible save. I mean, usually you get that far around, you're not going to save that truck.
No, or if you catch it, you're going to snap right and hook into the wall head on, and he did a good job of missing both of them.
So this is 2 laps later, we had this domino incident with Schollenbacher, Kelly Kill, and Jeremiah Burke. You can see a couple angles on this, but you can see the 12 trucks coming up behind. Just seems to get loose coming out of 1 and 2, and then dovetail kind of dominoes into the 01 truck, which takes out the 53 as well.
Yeah, it was just a chain reaction wreck, and it hurt all 3 of them, but I believe they were all able to continue.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but that was lap 22. The next incident is involving the 81 right after a restart here. I think cold tires were the culprit here.
Yeah, and you don't see a lot of wrecks going into 3 like that, so it's kind of surprising to see Osborne lose it. in turn 3, but if he wouldn't have had another truck coming, he might have caught it. But what a move for the rest of the field to miss him. That was a great job.
He was up front. That should have been a complete disaster. But luckily, I mean, even some guys went through the grass. I think we saw the 123 of Gallagher, but the evasive action was on the menu. They did a great job there to be able to keep it under green. I'm sure 81 wouldn't have minded maybe a caution there to gather his truck up and fix some damage. But good job by the field.
Yeah, for sure. It was a good job by everybody there.
This is on the restart at lap 30. This was involving a newcomer, Jason Chrisman. Just clips the grass there, Ricky, and which will throw you in that inside wall.
Oh, yeah, and it shoots him back up across the track when he hits that safer barrier, and then he just gets creamed. He had a good start, good run going. It's a tough break that happened to him because I think he started third, and he had some really good speed.
Yeah, he was definitely fast. We were impressed with that. Moving on to lap 40, looks like Mayberry strikes again on the 52, Justin Brown, and I think almost the exact location as we watch this going into 1 and 2.
Yeah, just a little harder contact with Brown, and he wasn't able to catch it. It sends him all the way around and tank slapper right into the wall, and that was pretty devastating for Justin Brown's night.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That one didn't turn out as well as Paul Durkee's did. But we'll have to give the mouth a little bit of we'll talk to him later on. Anyway, moving on to Welch, Robertson, Anderson. These are the leaders. This is positions 1, 2, and 3 on lap 88. And you'll see here, leaders were following the leader here, and I think they all touched the wall. And then the 6 gets the worst end of it right here with the 21.
Yeah. Welch was snapped off the wall and almost wrecked. Tried to correct it, caught it, but Robertson was to his outside, and that ended Trevor's night.
Yeah, I think it actually ended probably the 21's night as well. He had some damage off of that, and you'll see at the end of the race he was laps down. And with, I don't know if he had used his fast repair earlier, but I think this is what ended up costing him an opportunity to win this race. As we wrap this incident up and we go forward to the last caution of the night, a 101 involving Albert Anderson at 99 and the 83 Jason Gaines.
Yeah, and it looks like at first glance that Gaines made contact, but he did not. He just took the air off of the 99, and the lemonade squeezed itself into the wall there.
Yeah, it looks like Russ Kilgore gets a piece of it in the 2 truck. Just looking from the TV camera angles, it did look like maybe there was some contact, but we went up overhead, and you can see from this angle that there was never actually any contact. 99 had just come out of the pits. He was on cold tires, trying to maintain that lead. That was basically the race for the lead right there between him and the 83, which they are teammates. And then this is a winning moment by 83 as he comes around. Like I mentioned, 21 is not on the same lap there. He comes around to take the checkered flag. Turned out it was really close on fuel. As you'll notice here, Ricky, he goes around for the cool down lap and doesn't even have enough at the end of this to be able to do a burnout.
Yeah, I know we were talking about it during the broadcast. Would he have enough? That was definitely the drama of the last couple of laps was Gaines. Did he save enough to make it? And he did.
Yeah, so that is the recap of Texas Motor Speedway. I thought it was a really good race, and now we're going to talk to your podium finishers here this evening and get a word with them. And we're going to start off with your race winner, Jason Gaines.
From Tobacco Road to the fast lane, Jason Gaines.
So we'll get him up here in the booth here, Ricky, and we'll have a discussion with him. Hey, Jason, this is Alan and Ricky in the booth. You got us, buddy.
Gotcha. How y'all doing?
We're doing well. Man, great race. I'm going to turn it over to Ricky for the first series of questions.
Hey, Jason, I know probably sounds like Groundhog Day. We did this Friday, but a little technical difficulty, so we'll do it again tonight. I know it's been a few days, but on the race there at Texas that you take home the win, how did you adapt to that racetrack and the strategies as they played out during that race?
Yeah, it's I know what you're saying. Being a couple of days, I swear I'm getting pretty old, man, because I was sitting there trying to think of what all happened. But it was a race of attrition for me because I had a speeding penalty or sort of a penalty from the week before, a few weeks, because I was unable to run for a couple of weeks there. But so I didn't get to qualify, start in the back. Which, I mean, if I can do that each week and end up with a win, then I'll get penalties left and right. But it was long run was the most effective thing for me to get me up there. And like we talked about when it happened that night, a lot of guys had some problems. I think DW, Trevor, and Albert were probably a little quicker than I was. Just heads up. So that definitely kind of played into my favor there too.
Yeah. So on the end of the race there, it looked like it was coming down to the gas mileage. So was that the key moment of the race for you getting up front and once Albert wiped out and trying to save gas and maintain your distance between you and Gones?
Yeah, it was. It had that green flag feel to it, but you never know really. So I knew just being in the same chat room with DW and Albert, being on the same team with All Star, I kind of knew we were very close on gas mileage. So I thought, kind of snuck around and didn't say anything and kind of ducked in one lap earlier than Albert was, just to see if I could kind of do an undercut and catch up to him, and I did. And I had such a run coming up on him going into turn 1 and 2 there, going around the lap car, and I got up on him pretty quick. I don't know if I took the air off his spoiler or what, but he got loose, and we went back and looked at it a couple of times because I just want to make sure I didn't touch him, and I didn't. But I hated that he got it loose like that, and it snapped on him unbelievably hard and just wiped him out. But after that, it was just, I had to monitor very, very closely the gap that I was trying to maintain at least a second, because I knew if he got closer, he could grab some draft off of me. Goins could, and possibly force me to run out of gas. And I didn't have anything for a burnout, so that figures I win. I can't do a burnout.
Yeah, he was definitely running on vapors. So that's what I was going to ask you. The last question was, what was going through your mind there those final couple of laps? I know that we got all the gadgets and widgets to see how much it says we have, but did you really think that you had enough all the way to that last lap?
Not till the last lap. I don't really run with a bunch of the gadgets and stuff that a lot of these guys do. I don't like to fill up my vision too bad with that stuff, so I was kind of just eyeballing what iRacing gives you to look through as far as your gas mileage, what you're going to be short possibly, and whether or not that's accurate. I had no idea. I know I've run out at least twice coming to the checkered. I think one race off of 3 and 4, I lost it to Nick Biddy one time, and that hurt pretty bad. So I just knew something was going to happen. Or a caution, I would have been okay with that because it would have took the gas mileage out, but then tires would have come in factor. So I was holding on and praying there for the last couple of laps.
I hear you, buddy. I'll turn it over to Alan for these last couple of questions.
Hey, Jason, great race. I was wondering if you were going to be pushed so hard by Chris Goins to maybe run you out of fuel, because I just felt it was going to be so close. But so great job on the fuel mileage there. But this is a new series, and we have new fans out there as well. We're trying to get to know and highlight our different drivers as they make the podium, and then otherwise. So what's something interesting about you that you can share with an audience that you can relate to us tonight?
I mean, like I said during the race the other week, it was, I'm a jokester outside of racing, but I don't really talk a whole lot in the room. We were just talking down the green room with Lori, and me and Chris Goins, we're kind of the quiet guys. We don't say a whole lot, and I don't really, while I'm on racing, it's more focus driven than anything. But I do love the joke and pick and cut up. Dustin Eaton is like me outside of racing, and all you guys know how Eaton is. So he's a character. But yeah, that's me. And like I said, I like to play golf. I like racing is a huge passion. I was in construction field for a while, so I love doing anything with woodworking and stuff like that. So, I've got a lot of irons in the fire outside of this, but yeah, it's definitely cutting up and just having fun.
Well, it's great having you racing with us every week, and now getting to know you even better. And I know we did discuss some of these topics last week at the end of the race. Part of your interview was cut off, so we wanted to get equal time and get the entirety of your interview in here this week. And the final question I would have for you, do you have any shout outs for team, fans, or family?
Yeah, it's always going to be number one slot. It's going to go to the wife, man. She's a huge supporter. I'm trying my best to get her to watch these broadcasts, but she just, about the time we start, it gets to be her wind down time. So I'm still working on that one, but her, definitely everybody on Team All Star. I know we've got DW, Tom Barish, Burke, and Albert racing with me on this side. So huge shout out to those guys for all the help they provide. Alan, you and Ricky for doing the broadcast, the way for running the league. I mean, it's just it's a total team effort around here, and anybody that wants to look into getting into a league to race with that's family oriented, this is the place to do it, no doubt.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you feel that way and you're happy to be here. We're happy to have you, and a great job on that win in Texas. Did you miss a couple of races this season? Ricky and I were talking about that before the show and looking kind of where you kind of placed this season. I think you might have missed a couple because you're currently running 18th. So this win does a lot for you in the points category, but your average starts like 21st, starting with a penalty, I'm sure didn't help. But your average finish is 11th. And then, of course, you won at Texas. But you had to miss maybe one of these first 6 races, did you?
Yeah, I missed 2 in a row. My work schedule sometimes forced me to close, which is like a 12 to 9 shift. So I walk into work pretty much when the race starts. So I miss a couple here or there. I was telling the wife earlier before we jumped on to do these interviews that, I'd like to be able to run a full season at some point in VRL, whether it's Wednesdays or Fridays or whenever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to get a full season and see if I can potentially run for a championship at some point.
I definitely know that you would be in contention just by watching the way that you race and maintain that level of speed. So, hey, man, thanks for joining us and giving us an in-depth interview tonight on an off-race night as well. And look forward to seeing you on track tomorrow night.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Good night. All right, that was your race winner, Jason Gaines. So now we're going to move on to your second place finisher, Chris Goins.
From the heart of Lexington, Chris Goins.
The number 38 machine. Hey, Chris, it's Alan and Ricky in the booth. You got us, buddy.
Yes, sir. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Hey, good to have you tonight. Ricky's going to kick off the questioning for this evening. Go ahead, Ricky.
Hey, Chris, good race, good P2 on Friday. I know it's been a few days, but if you could jog your memory there a little bit on the Texas race, how did you adapt to the track and all the strategy changes throughout that race?
Well, with me, Texas has never really been one of my my stronger tracks. I tend to actually struggle there quite a bit, but just really sticking with it, trying to maximize the tire life that you can there, along with the being able to save a little bit of gas there. It usually turns into a bit of a strategy if it stays green, which the early part of that race had a tendency to want to go green. So we did able to maintain that, and through some unfortunate happenings with the guys that were running up front the whole time, we were able to kind of squeak out that top 3.
Yeah. So, what team are you on Friday nights?
So I'm part of Track Bar Motorsports, just in general, and we've got some guys that run over here on Fridays with Jesse Redding and Crystal Villano, obviously, with being not guys, but you get that idea. But and then Jesse Graham. So we all kind of run together, but part of Track Bar Motorsports. But that's just in general as a whole, not necessarily associated with the league itself.
Yeah, so the reason I was asking, because all that craziness that happened with Albert and Derek Welch and Trevor Robertson, did you have an idea of what was going on? Was you able to keep up with what was going on with all the craziness?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I was running probably 5th or 6th when the whole thing happened with Trevor down the backstretch with him and DW kind of getting in the wall there. So I kind of saw it happen out in the distance a little bit. And then the Albert thing, I didn't know what the caution was for when it came out, because I was actually working on a pit stop as well. So I didn't find that out until I came back around and saw that Albert was in the pits. So I kind of put 2 and 2 together there and just paid attention on the restart to who was around me still, and just realized that it was Albert. Unfortunately, he had the car to beat, I think. But yeah, I keep track of it little by little, but not usually pretty that thorough.
Yeah. So what was the key moment in the race? Was it that last caution and being able to save enough gas? Is that what got you the second place?
Yeah. Well, I think, I've worked on saving fuel basically all race. Just kind of saving a little bit here and there, running an extra lap over everybody else, for each run. And then I think at the end, I think Jason ran out of gas on his cool down lap. I still had almost 4 laps of fuel left. So, you know, I was trying to push him there at the end. I knew if I could get within, you know, second and a half, maybe I could catch a snip of his draft and stuff, but maybe I could push him to have to run a little bit harder to maybe run out a little early. But he did a heck of a job saving fuel and everything. But, you know, really just the attrition that I had to, you know, the other guys ran into, that's really what gave us the second place. I had a top 10, I think, but I didn't see a podium finish happening there.
Yeah, Chris.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say that led into my last question, which you just answered. So about the final lap. So I was going to turn it over to Alan for the last couple of questions.
Yeah, Chris. So Ricky and I were going back and forth. I think maybe even on the broadcast, we thought you were going to be able to push him out of fuels because you were so far to the good. And I think you might have had a little bit of a tire advantage too. But so he did an incredible job. And we know, you know, after a few laps, that tire advantage kind of goes away. Did you think you were going to be able to catch him at one point? Because I think you were.
Well, I definitely, so when I came out of the pits after that last stop, I was like 4.5 seconds behind, but I knew I had a little bit of distance to third. So I was just kind of riding there to you know, maintain and kind of settle, you know, you take what the car gives you, right? You know, I was a huge Mark Martin fan growing up. So that's, you know, that's one thing that he was notorious for is just taking what the car gives you. And a lot of times it ends up better than you think, but you just don't want to push it too hard. And so that's what I was trying to do and maintain. And then I saw him drop back quite quickly. And I didn't know for sure, but I had a feeling that he was saving fuel.
Yeah.
So I started pushing it a little bit more and just trying to get close enough to him to make him run just a little bit harder to burn a little bit more fuel. But at the end of it, you know, he just did a heck of a job there saving that and keeping the speed up.
Yeah, no doubt. So moving on to another topic, as this is a newer series, we like to get to know the drivers as we get them on into the booth. So is there something interesting that you can share with us or with the audience, safe for work kind of sharing, that nobody knows about you?
Well, you know, kind of keeping it race related. You know, I'm from Charlotte originally. So obviously that's kind of where NASCAR is centered around. And so I got into this, you know, the NASCAR and racing thing at a young age. And so, you know, going to the races every year and doing that. I worked for Rick Hendrick for a little while. So, you know, so you kind of get involved and all encompassed in this NASCAR thing. And it's kind of transitioned over now. I've moved out of the Charlotte area a little bit, but I can kind of keep up with the, you know, my love for the sport, you know, through iRacing and so that's kind of keeps me motivated doing that. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Everything NASCAR racing related. You know, a lot of guys don't necessarily know, but I run a lot of road course stuff, even more so now than the NASCAR stuff, really. But yeah, I'm kind of a road course guy. It's kind of turned into that here recently.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I wasn't as much into road courses until I got into iRacing too. It's funny how it broadens your perspective and become a fan of other motorsports even through that process. So my final question actually is, do you have any shout outs for your team, fans, or family?
Yeah, for sure. You know, all the teammates over there with Track Bar Motorsports that run over here, Jesse Redding, Jesse Graham. I know Crystal Villano she's been out with an injury from real life racing. So she's been out, unable to race with us on Fridays. So wishing her a speedy recovery and everything too there. But, you know, just being able to run with everybody over here, it's been a lot of fun. You know, I helped Steve with the broadcast for y'all's Wednesday night league. So I've kind of gotten to know from a distance, you know, the guys that I'm racing with on Fridays. But it's cool to be able to be out there on track and run with those guys and kind of get a feel for everybody. It really does transition over well to the Wednesday stuff, you know, being able to know kind of their habits and, you know, what their motives are maybe. But yeah, just everybody in this league, you guys obviously do a heck of a job on Fridays, putting these things on. This broadcasting thing is not easy. So I appreciate the time and effort you guys are putting into it. And obviously the adminning over there as well, with Lori and all that too. So you guys put a lot of work into it, and we definitely appreciate you guys.
No, hey, thanks, Chris. Yeah, Lori's definitely the engine behind the league in total in both series, and we're happy to have you here, and we hope we have you for a very long time. And we'll see you on the track tomorrow night.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, y'all.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Later.
So that was your second place finisher of the number 38 machine, Chris Gones. And with that, Ricky, we're going to move on to our third place finisher.
Former VRL champion, Andrew Player.
We'll get Mr. Andy Player up here into the booth. Hey, Andy, it's Alan and Ricky. You got me, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, fellas?
Hey, doing great. Ricky's going to kick off our questioning for tonight there.
Hey, Andy, good race at Texas, getting a podium finish here last week. I know it's been a few days, and if you're like me, you may have to shake that brain a little bit to remember the Texas race. But do you remember how you was adapting to the track and all the strategy on Friday night?
Yeah, I had to go back and rewatch the broadcast, and actually I had to pull up my replay because I was running pretty good for the first 20 laps. I was in the top 10, and then all of a sudden I was like back in 25th. Like, what happened? And then I went back and I remembered Nick Tucker and I wound up getting together. I wound up trying to make a pass on him. I slid up, and I wrinkled my rear quarter panel. And with these trucks, you bend that back end up, and they get really loose and they're hard to handle. So we had a caution. I came in and got it fixed. That put me way back at the back of the pack for a good chunk of the race. But I was in the general chat with a bunch of folks in there. I got to give credit to Osborne. He said something in the chat that really kind of helped change my driving style. And he talked about committing to off throttle time, and that really kind of changed my race. I was slowly able to work my way back up, and I think honestly going in for that pit kind of changed my strategy a little bit. I was a little bit more off sequence and set up better for the run. So somehow I managed to come back. I had some good luck on my side last week.
Good deal. So on the as far as the key moment of the race, was it the timing of a caution or Osborne's unexpected help, or what was the key moment of the race to get you up into that top three?
I hate to say it. I think it was actually I was leading at the time when Albert came out and got a little loose on those cold tires right in front of the 6 truck there, and I was right behind him when it happened. Unfortunately, I didn't get caught up into it, and I mean I hate seeing that for Albert. I mean he's always a player out here on these fast tracks, and he definitely was the class of the field. And I hate to say it, I'm taking lucky over good last week. So it was being in the right place at the right time and having some good luck. There's a lot of really fast trucks last week that they just had bad luck at the wrong moment. Allowed me to kind of squeak up there for a good podium finish.
Yeah, definitely. So the final laps of that race, you were a little distanced behind the 2 leaders. Did you think that that they didn't have enough gas, or was you hoping they didn't have enough gas, or kind of what was going through your mind there?
I think I might have been hoping they didn't have enough gas. I knew they were probably going to be close. Honestly, I was kind of fighting with Burke for a few laps there, worrying if he was going to run me down. And I managed to get a lap truck between us, and he had a little bit more difficult time passing him than I did, so I was able to kind of walk away from him. But I was worried Burke was going to run me down and knock me off that podium. I was more worried about trying to run away from him than catching the other guys. I was too far back to even reel them in, so it was just trying to salvage what I had.
Yeah, well, good run, buddy. I'll let Alan finish it with his couple of questions.
Alrighty, thank you, man.
Hey, Andy, again, congratulations, man. Great run coming in on that third step of the podium. We know you very well, former champion of the Wednesday night Vigilante Racing League series. But this is a new series, and we have new fans watching, and so we're trying to get to know our drivers in this one segment as well. So, is there something interesting, a safe for work type of interesting thing about you that you could share with the broadcast?
Probably 2 things. I mean, I remember when I first joined the league on Wednesday nights, it talked about it being a gentleman's league, which I kind of took a little bit more senior status around here. And I've actually been racing online in some form or fashion since 1994. So I started racing with the original NASCAR racing by Papyrus. And when we used to race against the AI and send in our results, and somebody compare the finishes and the average time of the race and declare a winner that way. So, and then ultimately racing against actual people. So I've been doing it for a long time. And the other fun fact, I will mention this, that few years back, shortly after joining the league, I actually wanted to learn how to play the bagpipe. So that's probably the most interesting thing I'll probably say. If you watch once in a while, I'll throw on my band on one of the trucks and run a special paint scheme, usually when I'm close to a home track.
Well, you taught me something, and I mean, I know Papayas. I didn't race it, but I didn't realize that you were racing against the AI, and someone else made a determination as to who won. That's a lot of effort and dedication if for somebody who wants to go sim racing back in the day. So thanks for that tidbit of information. And then my final question is, do you have any shout outs for team, fans, or family?
Absolutely. First and foremost, got a shout out to my wife for putting up with this crazy habit. She's been with me even longer than I've been racing, so she's been along for the ride for quite some time, and she still puts up with me and allows me to come down here and hang out with you folks. So I appreciate her support, my family for tolerating it as well. My teammates, Team Tang, racing with Dustin, Craig, and Kevin. I race with them on Wednesdays and Fridays. We're a pretty good little team that we got there. We like to help each other out. We have a lot of fun, so thank them. And I appreciate McConey Setup Shop support. I've had them on the hood of the truck for quite a while. They've been a long-time supporter of mine as well, so I appreciate everything they do for me too.
All right, buddy. Well, again,
go ahead. I do have
sorry.
to do one more shout out. We got to thank Miss Lori for putting up with our shenanigans every week, and obviously you two guys are putting on one heck of a great broadcast for us as well. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, we're just trying to highlight the talents of this league and the awesome drivers that we have in it, the best that we can. And yes, Lori is definitely the engine that keeps this machine rolling down the hill. So I always want to thank her. But thanks very much, and congratulations again for that third step on the podium. And we'll see you on the track tomorrow.
Sounds great. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
All right. Good night. And that was your third place finisher of Andy Player. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you're still watching. Make sure you're hitting us up in the chat. Any questions for me or Ricky? We're going to move on to what we're calling Beyond the Matrix segment of the show.
Let's go Beyond the Matrix.
So this segment, Ricky, as you and I discussed, is where we're going to talk about real-world NASCAR and hot topics of the day. This week, we are discussing a recent interview that I watched with regard to NASCAR legend Mark Martin and his remarks tying back to the current NASCAR Cup playoff system. So, when former Hall of Famer Mark Martin says that the sport is losing its soul, and then you got a guy who's 33rd in points at SVG, he leapfrogs the entire playoff field when he won down in Mexico City. Mark asks the question. He says, maybe it's time we need to ask ourselves as a sport, are we chasing drama or are we crowning champions? He had a few more remarks going there. Specifically, the core of his argument, he said he's calling for a return rather to the classic 36 race full season format, arguing that the current elimination style playoffs diminishes the sport's integrity and the legacy of past drivers. He talked about a fan-backed critique. Martin ran a poll recently on X that I saw where he had more than 21,000 votes. And after it was finished, 60% of those favored the old system. And it seems like Mark Martin is positioning himself as the race fans' voice, saying that NASCAR isn't listening to its core audience. What say you there, Ricky?
Well, he's not wrong in certain... from what he said, the old school fan is not died out, but it's going to be hard to get a lot of them guys back. It's totally different sport now. It's not ideal that a guy 33rd in points is in the playoffs, but he's playing in the system that he's playing in, and I know you said the integrity and the legacy of past champions, and the last time I checked, Mark Martin never won a championship, and I watched him drive down pit road at Bristol once on the last lap and give the race to David Green. So, Mark's opinion holds weight, but in my opinion, he's got to understand that everything's changed, and that I'm probably as much old school as anybody in the league, and I'm a historian in NASCAR, but at the same time, it's a totally different ball game now. We're not playing, we're not in the 80s or 90s anymore, and they do need to change some things, but I think some of his arguments are not great from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, he goes into that, and to your point about things have changed, that he's looking at TV versus tradition. He claims that, hey, the decisions that NASCAR is making is driven by TV ratings and corporate interests, and it's not what's best for the sport. His quote was that they don't want the fans to know that it's not up to the fans, it's up to the TV people. So I guess I read into that quote, he's saying that, they don't highlight the fact that if the fans walked away, maybe that would make a difference, or that they just value their TV partner's opinion more.
Yeah, and really it is all about the money, because if you don't have the sponsors or the TV partners, you're not racing in front of anybody. You're not on TV. These guys aren't famous. So it's a slippery slope. They do need to go back to some of the old school stuff. They need to get rid of some of the gimmicks, but then they need more gimmicks for some things. So it's a tough road. It's a tough decision. Like get Van Gisbergen is a prime example. He's way out in the points, but those partners and those sponsors, how many sponsors is he going to get on road courses knowing this guy might win this race? And that might be all they need to, go for the other 30 races of the year, what they make in 2 or 3 races for road courses, on the off chance this guy's going to win and get us into the playoffs. So it's not a black or white situation.
Yeah, I mean, being an old school fan myself, I mean, I feel Martin's sentiments there. He's talking about legacy concerns, and he feels that the current format cheapens past accomplishments, including his own. I know you said he never won a championship, but it's not easy even to come in second, especially back in the old format. And he feels like that the turning championships into what he's calling gimmicks. You mentioned that as well. And that kind of dovetails into SVG, like I mentioned before, is finishing, he was 33rd in points before he won in Mexico City. And now he has leapfrogged a great portion of the field. And that's millions of dollars really at the end of the day when it comes to the end of the season and ownership points. So the controversy about that's been online a lot. They're talking about how he knocked out somebody like Ryan Preece, who's having the best career season he's had so far, but he hasn't won a race. And I realize, and I can appreciate putting an emphasis on winning. I just don't know if you should be able to win from 33rd and get into the playoffs. Are you truly one of the best drivers throughout the season?
Yeah, probably not. But that's that's the sandbox they're playing in right now. So I don't know what the answer is. Maybe it should be you have to be in the top 20 in points to be eligible for the playoffs at the end of the regular season. But it does take out the big. NASCAR wants the big game feel. They want the big play atmosphere. They loved it. Well, they may not say it, but they loved it last year when Austin Dillon pile drove whoever it was at Richmond and won that race. They took it away from him. But I know in the moment they loved it. And I know some of my friends that are NASCAR riders and reporters, they said that NASCAR loved that in the moment. So it's one of those things, because it makes people talk about NASCAR. I mean, Sports Center don't even cover NASCAR anymore. ESPN barely covers NASCAR, so they've got to try to stay relevant and not kind of fall where IndyCar fell 20 years ago.
No, I can agree with that. The other side supporters argue that this keeps the season exciting, as you mentioned, and gives underdogs a shot. It's unpredictable, dramatic, great for TV. And they're always talking about trying to capture that Game 7 moment. Now, I'm the one, I don't like it when they compare motorsports to stick and ball sports, but I can understand from their perspective how they're trying to create excitement. Now, one of the things that's starting next week, or actually this week, is that in-season bracket. Now, I have no bad opinion of that, because it's not necessarily kind of gimmicking up who's going for the championship. It's just about being able to, hey, who do you think the one-on-one matchups, who's going to win it this week to that week, all the way down to somebody winning $1 million, including a fan who gets the bracket correct. So I can get on board with some things like that, and maybe to what you mentioned, changing slightly the win and you're in has to come down to maybe in the top 20, which is something we do within our league system as well. Is you got to be in the top 20 to make it to the playoffs, at least for the Cup playoffs on the Wednesday night VRL series.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where there's not really a right answer.
Yeah, sure isn't. So it's going to be something debated until the end of NASCAR. So hopefully that's a long time. So with that, Ricky, we're going to move on to the league news, starting with the Vanquish Series, where we're heading into round 7 of the 10 race season, coming up tomorrow night at the iRacing Super Speedway. Your current points leader is Mike Adamson with 180 points, followed by David Mayberry with 171 points. Albert Anderson is in third at 166. Jonathan Osborne fourth at 162. And rounding out your top five is Jeremiah Burke at 157 points. Some specifics on this track. This is a virtual only track. It's been around the service for a while, but it's a 3-mile distance oval track with 36 degrees of banking in the turns and 10 degrees in the straightaways. It's considered by iRacing to be a hyper speedway, and it's nicknamed the Big Thunder or the Super Thunder Valley. I know what I expect out of this race, Ricky. What do you expect?
Oh, it's going to be carnage and chaos, and a lot of trucks flipping through the air, and maybe even leaving the ballpark. But ISS is one of my favorite tracks. I loved Coca-Cola when it came out on NASCAR 2003. Ran it so much. It's just such a fun track, but you've got to be careful. You've got to not hit the apron going into the turn and shoot up across the track and cause wrecks. That's the big thing, is keeping those left side tires above that yellow line. But it's going to be a wild race. The runs are ridiculous. The speeds are ridiculous. And if they have green flag pit stops, which it's going to be tough, but if they do, trying to get into pits at ISS is probably the toughest track that we run, I think, trying to get in those pits.
Yeah, it's pretty treacherous. The speed that you're going, that transition off of the banking onto the flatter lead up to the pit road. If you don't hit it, if you hit it on old tires, sometimes you can get completely out of control before you get to the line. It's going to be an interesting race. Just going into the corners, how you drop into basically a bowl, it seems. It's challenging for a lot of drivers, and the older the tires get, the more often you'll see incidents occur when they're side-by-side racing. But with that, what I'm going to do, Ricky, is I'm going to go over some admin notes that Lori has provided for us. If you could get a quick check of the chat while I'm doing that, and I think we got some comments from the audience finally. So from Lori, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead, and then we'll hit the audience comments.
All right, sounds good. So admin notes from Lori this week for the VRL Wednesday night series. We're only 1 week out, everybody, from season 12. She still has some spots available for folks who haven't provided their fee yet to secure that spot for the season. So make sure that if you plan on racing on Wednesday night, that you get with her as soon as you can, because the season is going to start week after next. Additionally, a little underground news that I'm probably not supposed to share with you, but she has been talking about some planned changes that she wants to make within the VRL Wednesday night series that she believes is going to be very popular with our drivers. She's not giving me all the facts and circumstances because she doesn't want me to be chiming in yet. So I don't know, Ricky, what do you think that might be?
I don't know. I mean, if she's taken any hints from some of my shenanigans with some of these crazy races we do, it's hard telling. So I would stay tuned though, because I think some of these changes are going to be very interesting.
Okay, and now moving on to the Vanquish series, she put up a poll last week, and she was considering moving the Vanquish series from a Friday night series to a Thursday night series because we want to increase participation. But ultimately, after we got the results of that poll, it was very close. I think Thursday might have edged out Friday by 1 or 2 votes, but we discussed it and we decided we're going to stick with Friday nights. And we're going to continue, even if it's a slow buildup, of getting all of our drivers to get 35 plus within the field. We have a really strong core of drivers right now. We have the drivers that we're looking for. We're looking for fast drivers, but more importantly, we're looking for drivers with character and who fit the core values of this league. So for our drivers out there, anybody in the fan base, if you know anybody who meets the bill for that, send them our way so we can get them screened and possibly into the Vanquish series. And with that, Ricky, did you have anything within the chat you want to discuss or any closing thoughts?
I mean, there was a lot of chat going on, just back and forth, a lot of good fun. I mean, we've got a bunch of people in here, so I don't want to overlook anybody. Kyle Vought's in here, Mayberry, of course. Albert Anderson's been in here, Gones, Mike Adamson, Osborne, Greg Dobson's in the chat. I think the questions, though, let's see. Oh... Well, Mayberry had a comment. Mark Martin's old, and he wants NASCAR to stay the way it was. NASCAR's entertainment. So we need the drama, and we need stage breaks because we need commercials to fund NASCAR. So we know Mayberry's opinion. He's pretty he's pretty adamant on his opinion of current NASCAR. Chachi asks, is there restrictor plates on the truck? I guess he's talking about at ISS, and yeah, I think they have restrictor plates. I believe that the last time I checked, that they topped out maybe 190, 195 in the trucks. If they was unrestricted, we'd be going 230.
Yeah, the only car I remember going unrestricted there was that old cot car that we raced there one time. Yeah, that was insane.
That was crazy. Yeah, we were going 255, 260.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's a little nuts. Greg Dobson, he's all up in arms about the changes. Stages, field inversions, ? Greg, I don't know, but it's changes. Changes are good. Hey, he says he's changing jobs, so he's got to get all of his contacts from his bowling league. So yeah, Dobson, good luck on your new job, buddy. Chan the man, Chandler Paul, with the new Gen 4 cars out, would there be a possibility of a change to those? That's not up to me. Hey, now, the Gen 4s are cool, though. That is what we raced back in NASCAR 2003.
Yeah, we tried. What was the car they came out with? The Gen 4. I think they've updated this Gen 4 now to be more accurate to the actual Gen 4 that we remember.
Yeah, we ran the ARCA a little bit in the Friday League, that when they kind of changed it and had the higher horsepower, but the Gen 4 they just released, that Chevy and Ford, is supposed to be a lot more accurate to the, that mid-2000s body style, draft style. So I've seen a lot of good reviews about it. So yeah, I mean, they do look like they're pretty fun. I've not driven them yet.
Hey, I see GC Mustang LX. I'm not sure who that is, but it says no restrictor plates at ISS. Trucks are 270-ish last time he was there. So, wow, that's going to be making for an interesting race on Friday.
Yeah, 217 at ISS will get your attention. So it's going to be. But one thing is, these boys and girls, if Crystal runs, hopefully they'll, not have to burn the fast repairs, but at least they got them, because if you get sideways at ISS and get hit, it's going to be big no matter what.
Yeah, for sure, Ricky. Well, with that's going to wrap up the report. Do you have any other closing thoughts or anything for tomorrow night before I sign off?
No, I'll just like to say Godspeed to everybody that's running ISS and then turning around and running the VRL season finale at drafting Atlanta. That is that's a headache, but it'll be an interesting broadcast. I'll say that.
It sure will. Well, that does it for this edition of the Vigilante Report, race fans. You've just been briefed. Stay sharp, stay fast, stay vigilante, and we'll see you on the track tomorrow. Good night.